Alrighty, you can see the title. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a prep here. This video, he talks for the first approximately 5.5 minutes talking about Charlottesville. And I'm not going to live back in 2017 and all that business. But he does talk about Chop or Chaz afterwards. And I want to highlight how the narrative comes about and how idealistic it really is and how opportunistic Vaush is, and just kind of break this down little by little. He says it out pretty plainly. Anywho, let's get into it. There we go. There we are. And there. And it's going to take me a minute to get going on this. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. So skip all the feijoa about Charlottesville. I think he's pretty much done. Let's continue here.
For themselves. Do you remember that clip from Richard Spencer? Remember that one?
Oh, wait a minute. Yep. It's almost there. Okay, so once again, that clip from Richard Spencer, regardless of how ridiculous it sounded, that came from Milo Yiannopoulos. Yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos, who apparently is working for the state to arrest people, to continue to, bring, people like Kessler and all this other business to court. This stuff is continuing to go on. And yeah, so it's interesting that, of course, you bring up Milo Yiannopoulos. The fact is that, yeah, he's working with the state to release all this information. But yeah, go ahead.
The one, You used to look up at faces like mine, you fucking octorods! Like that one, you remember? Know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that one. You know why he was so mad? That was recorded from him following the announcement that Heather Heyer had died at Charlottesville. He realized how bad the optics were going to be from Charlottesville. He realized
yes, my optics, once again, 2016 never ended. I know, I'm going to keep repeating it. I think I've heard it over and over, and now I've just finally realized, yes, it's true. 2016 and 2017 never ended. They never ended. We're still talking about optics. This is... Go ahead.
The right rally was a failure because all the news media wasn't reporting on this big, peaceful assembly of conservative, patriotic Americans. The news media was...
Oh, yes, Republicans. Yeah, Republicans and the alt-right apparently across the board got along. No, that's not the case at all, apart from people here and there. And of course, just, okay, go ahead.
Reporting on a bunch of alt-right neo-Nazi terrorists who killed a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Did they destroy property? I know. Once again, I'm sorry. I'm going Wignat there, but it's like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That's why he got mad. Because the optics were bad. Richard Spencer a little bit smarter than your average Nazi, but it's a low bar to pass. That's what I worry about. I don't want to overplay our hand. I worry a little bit about Chaz. Chaz might be overplaying our hand a little bit.
Oh, really? Are they? But this is where the narrative gets set up. This is what, the narrative has already been set up, deep on, whichever, anarchist circles, whatever the case may be. But let's continue on here. Let's hear some more.
I mean, is it immoral to do a Chaz? Nah. I mean, sure, the people there are probably really cool. But a lot of wacky stuff has been happening in Chaz. Or is it Chop now, There was that story recently about somebody getting shot inside of Chaz, and they had to send the police in there. That looks really bad.
You've left out the paramedics, the ones that, wanted the police backup because there were people with firearms, but you left that bit out. That's okay. We just let's go ahead and clear it up a little bit. That yeah, paramedics wanted to go in, and yeah, idiots. Okay.
And then there was that preacher. There were 3 shootings last week.
Yeah, we don't care about the preacher. We don't care about it. It was a funny meme, but yeah, we know the preacher was cringe. Go ahead.
Weekend?
Yeah, 3 people.
They've all been outside?
Ah, yes. Once again, the apologia. Oh, it was outside. It was outside of the area. We didn't do anything. And there's the first narrative that is going to be preached about. It was all outside of the chop. Once again, there's plenty of video footage and everything else. But yeah, go ahead.
I don't think all of them have been outshot aside. One of them, I'm pretty sure at least one of them was inside. Yeah, because police had to come into the no-go zone. Yeah, we'll go chop. We don't want a dead name. Two inside, or two. You said two inside, one inside. What the fuck are you talking about? Most of them were by right-wing perpetrators? Yeah, no shit.
How do you know that? Yeah, how do you know that? Once again, how do we know that it was, once again, there are gangs that exist in Seattle. It's not just, people just think it's white-oid area, I guess. I mean, is that, yeah. So narrative number 2. Right-wing perpetrators are the ones that are doing the shooting. Look, I wouldn't put it past the feds or put it past anybody to say, oh, well, it was right-wing shooters. But this just sounds ridiculous. Really. I mean, name some names. Give me some names. Give me some information, any of that type of thing. So, as I said before, the narratives are already being set up. Once again. Go ahead.
Obviously. They should have read more theory. Yeah, sure. The police wouldn't let medics help somebody who was shot by neo-Nazis. Yes, I know. The police aid and abet the far right. I'm aware.
What? The police didn't... No. Medics wanted the police. There is literal footage out there that shows that they were waiting outside. And of course, people were screaming at them, you need to go in there. You need to go in there. Let me speed this up because, yeah, this is... Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, I'm not the best guy to respond, but oh well. I'm doing it anyway. I need some clout.
Thank you. However, I do feel like Chop might be a little bit like overplaying our hand. The conservative media space has been losing their mind over stuff that's been going on in there because it's a very easy target for criticism.
Losing their mind? Okay, go ahead.
You can make up pretty much anything you want about what's going on in Chop. I saw this really funny meme. Pardon me for sounding like a boomer. I saw this really funny meme, and it was like, no, you can't lie about our community of mutual aid. And then the boomer Fox News reporter said, haha, manufacturing consent goes burr. Meanwhile, 84,000 inside Chop are dead. Radioactive spiders have taken over the district. The irradiated zone will no longer be trespassable for years to go. Or something like that, because you can make up anything about Chop. You can make up anything. I can make something up right now. You can't disprove. Watch this. This is what happens in an area like that, like right now, currently, presently, at this moment, the Pope visited Chop, and they mugged the Pope. He came in his little Pope-mobile, and they mugged the Pope. Catholics all around the world are condemning Chop. You don't know if it's true. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You have no way of disproving this. Fuck the Pope. Yeah. I worry. I worry a little bit.
I'm gonna skip past some of this crap
whether or not mugging the
here.
Pope would or would not be a moral action. What is it? It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. The Pope is like,
right, go ahead.
They technically not own any of that.
Pass. There we go. Let's hear.
Wants to grill. Okay. Now we have to remember that grilling is fundamentally anti. It's from the chair he sits in. Like, here you go. Yeah. Papist wealth. Have it. Yeah, anyway, it's really important to not overplay your hand. You have to remember that right now, 90% of America just wants to grill, okay? Now, we have to remember that grilling is fundamentally it's counter-revolutionary, all right? Grilling is counter-revolutionary.
Oh, boy. Grilling is counter-revolutionary. Once again, the idea is that people have jobs. That's not just fucking grilling, jackass. People have, bills to pay. They, some people that are farmers out there, they got to make sure that they get their crops because obviously Trump isn't out there helping them. So no, it's not just fucking grilling. It's not. Once again, he's talking about a very specific segment. He's like, oh, 90% of people are grilling. No, most people are working. They're working. They are, they may be at a factory where they're like, oh shit, I wonder if this is going to get sent over to, China, this place, or whatever the case may be. The farm subsidies aren't coming in as strong. So, well, we're not going to grow as much. Whatever the case may be. People like this. So he's already starting off very bad framing. Very, very bad. He's like, well, 90% of people are just grilling. I understand, I kind of understand the basis of what you're saying, but to be like, oh, well, it's, counter-revolutionary to be that way. I guess working is counter-revolutionary too. Go ahead.
Revolutionary. Produces CO2. All right, we can't do it anymore. That's what it is. It's counter-revolutionary. So we need to get people off their grills. The problem is people like grilling. And what we want to do when we see the average American grilling, the average American, they're just flipping burgers, you know. They're flipping burgers, you know. And what we want to do is we want to be able to walk up to them and put a hand on their shoulder and say, hey, this world limits your grilling. Join me, and I will give you a world where you can grill more and juicier burgers than you ever imagined.
Once again, empty promises. Empty promises. You can bring in some people with that narrative, but you're not going to bring in all of them. You know, once again, you know what he. Oh, sorry, I can't talk. He isn't even talking about the separation between the rural and the city. It's like what he's talking about specifically here about, you know, this alleged grilling and all this. He's talking about the retired guy, or he's talking about the boomer who, you know, may work in insurance, or, you know, does an office job or something like that and lives in a nice little suburb. That's what he's talking about. Those people aren't going to be convinced by you either. They're going to be like, well, you know, eventually those suburbs, you know, they're just going to have their own private police force and everything else. And they'll find a way to, you know, protect their own little communities. So at least for the time being, I mean, who knows how that's going to change? I mean, who knows? Like I say, everything's up in the air. But yeah.
The dysfunctional relations of class prohibit you from dedicating your time and energy to the art of grilling. That's what we want to do. We want to meet them on their level, okay? What we don't want to do is have, you know, them grilling. They're grilling it up, and then they see the TV through the slide-in door, the kitchen TV through, like, the glass door, and they see, like, a Fox News report on the blacks-only zone that has been formed in CHOP, or where they have a bunch of white people forming a barrier saying, you must, with a bunch of color swatches saying you have to have this color in order for you to walk in.
No. Once again, he's going to be disingenuous as hell. So the idea, once again, where they had a, presumably a member of an indigenous tribe of some sort, probably, you know, Squinomish or whatever the case may be in Washington State, which allegedly I'm a part of that tribe. But anyway, who knows? Where he said, you know, if there aren't any white people out here, they'll give $10 to any black person in this zone. And of course, you saw that one black dude, he's clapping and everything else. You know, if you don't want to give $10 to any black person, then you're not part of this movement, or what? I'm paraphrasing. You can find the video and everything else, but this is how disingenuous he is. He just wants to say, "Oh yeah, well it's the you know, it's the it's a Family Guy meme where he's, you know, got the where he's got the fez on or whatever the case may be, and the cop is holding, you know, that sign of between the colors and all that. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's sometimes it's a funny meme, sometimes it isn't, but it's like, no, bruh, it's.
And then the fucking grilling guy's like, what the hell is wrong with those folks?
And he's not going to talk about the the pizzas that were sent in to CHOP. He isn't going to talk about the, you know, the, I think, at least according to, you know, to the media, could be completely wrong, but the two lawsuits that are pending against the city of Seattle, the 100,000, at least according to the police commissioner, take it with a grain of salt. Like I say, once again, do your own research. 100,000 calls that were placed due to the CHOP that were going on, you know, the everything else. But of course, it was the right wing that did the shooting. It's the right wing that did those murders. It wasn't, you know. Anyway.
That's what you need. We need to hit them with information that makes them interested. We can't.
The thing is, though, Vaush, is that you are talking about a very unrealistic thing. Number one, they wouldn't let you in your community. They'd be like, get the hell out. All right? Get a haircut, hippie, and get a shower, too. That would be the first thing. They're not going to let you in your fucking community. All right? You know, are you going to try to meet them at their job and try to talk to them about it? No. See, this is the whole thing. You despise people like this. We know you do. Deep down, you despise people like that. You despise these boomers. You know, as much as you try to be Mr. Oh, well, we need to try to be more accepting, and I'm more of a Mr. Intersectionality. You don't care about these people. Nobody cares about individual people. They just need bodies so that they can defend whatever system they're going to have. That's the whole reality of it. That's the honest to goodness truth. They don't care about that. It's all about lip service and pretending that you give a shit. All right? To think that, a marketer or, someone who, an Edward Bernays type is actually going to give a shit about these people? No, of course they don't. It's all about the mob mentality. It's all about what people like George Lippmann wrote about. This crystallizing public opinion. That's Edward Bernays, but a lot of Lippmann stuff and Bernays stuff kind of overlaps. This is the whole idea, though. Winning hearts and minds. This is what you're trying to talk about. Unfortunately, though, is that you despise these people. You have all this video footage from people's phones that says, that shows that you don't care about these people. Get out of here, colonizer, this and that. You see this. And, but of course you don't talk about that. But that's different from mob optics, this and that. Like I say, once again, it goes to show what sort of world this guy lives in. Let's hear more.
The hell is wrong with those kids? And to him, that looks like racism. And can you blame him? If you've spent your entire fucking life barely involved in the political process, and you see a bunch of pictures of people with lip piercings screaming about how only black people can enter this area, if that's all you see, if that's all you know, yeah, imagine you're trying to convince Hank.
Once again, though, Vaush, you don't talk about, for example, I watched this whole video series. Once again, this goes to show my boomer self. I heard about Evergreen College and everything else like that. But once I saw the video that they had, everything else about this Brett Weinstein, I feel as you want to about him. I don't even care. But just the absolute cuckoldry that happened with the president of the university, all this other stuff. And just, obviously there's a connection there. Obviously, Seattle, Evergreen College being, within the state of Washington. I don't know how far from Seattle it was, but still, it's like you can see the beginnings of that. And of course, that happened, like I say, right around, 2016, 2017, good old, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Okay, continue.
Hank Hill. Yeah, and then they look up and they see that from, even, it doesn't even have to be Fox News, it has to be like CNN or something. And like, God damn it, what's going on with this country? Like, that's all they get. And then they're going to go on Facebook, and they're going to say that back in their day, racism was when blacks had to drink out of the wrong fountain or whatever, and then nowadays these kids don't know what racism is, and this boomer has no interest in understanding the situation beyond the very limited perspective that they've been given.
Once again, at least he's being somewhat masked off about it. This goes back to the ideas of why do I keep saying George Lippmann, or it's Walter Lippmann? I'm sorry, my mind is just screwed up, folks. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the book right now, but yeah, Walter Lippmann. What people like Edward Bernays wrote about. This is about the unconscious mind and everything else, the mob mentality, this is what what's the French guy? I can't think of his name, but that basically just talking about this sort of mentality where you have to dig into the unconscious, and everything else. This is what those folks learned way back in the 1920s and 1930s. They knew about all this. This is how they were successful. That's how bacon and eggs became, the breakfast food of, the day. If you're eating bacon and eggs, you're doing something right with your life. That was the way it was seen. Same thing with torches of freedom with cigarettes. That was used by A.A. Brill originally, a disciple of Freud, who, Edward Bernays talked a lot to when his uncle, Sigmund Freud, didn't want to talk to him anymore. And when he passed away, he talked to A.A. Brill. A little bit of background there. But anyway, let's continue forward.
And you can't blame them for that, because you shouldn't have to expect every single fucking American to spend 20 fucking hours a week dedicating their time to fully familiarizing themselves with the constantly evolving geopolitical landscape of America. Not everyone can do that. It's not possible for everyone to do that. That's our job. We have to reach those people.
Once again, so what you're saying when he says that is basically, he's saying it it's a very thin veneer, but he's saying is that these people are not smart enough. These people are not intelligent enough. We have to tell them the truth. Basically, what you're saying is the game doesn't change; it's just the players, and that we will replace CNN and Fox News, as cringe as both of those outlets are. We will tell them what they should be doing. That is what you're saying, at least in my view. That is what you're telling people. Now, of course, I could, but that's how I see it. Let's continue.
in a crazy fucking hyper-socialist society, even a fucking anarchist society, most people are just going to want to grill. Most people are just going to grill. Most people will still just be grilling. So we need to reach the grillers, and we have to do that with easy messaging.
Once again, messaging is a very tricky thing, isn't it? You know, do you think that a video of a peaceful guy on CNN, you know, talking about socialism is going to be more influential than a 30-second or like a 45-second clip of, you know, some white guy getting beat up by a black dude? You tell me what's going to have more impact. I'm going to go with the 45-second clip. Or see some white guy, you know, coming out of his house getting beat up or something like that. You tell me what the difference is. And when you see a statue get taken down, you know, and people could feel as they want to about these statues, but it's like, what do you think that they're going to, you know, be more impacted by? You tell me.
Easy messaging, not weird shit. Okay, what is wrong with those boys? So what's the easy message? Black people have it hard here in America. There are things we can do to improve their relationship with the police. We can make this country fairer. We can make this country more just. We can dedicate our resources to more reasonable pursuits. We can mitigate the harm done to this country through corporate greed. We can support and empower the worker. We can address systemic racism. We can make this country great again.
Once again, promises, promises, promises. Go ahead. A lot of the time, you know, it's that the Bolsheviks, you know, it's that people want this. I mean, I've mentioned this before, and I'm not as well read on the Russian Revolution, but it's like people went back and forth between the Bolsheviks and the whites. People would go back and forth between them. What helped move people over was, of course, the fact that, once again, the Bolsheviks locked out the Suck Dems in the Kerensky administration, at least as far as I know, and they took over. Also, they won a lot of battles because the whites were disorganized, they were corrupt. I mean, even I'll be honest and say that. And that there are plenty of white generals who ended up leaving and, you know, spending the rest of their lives in New York. What was left of the Romanov family went to France, or they went to the United States. You know, and so without that around, people just said, you know, they became pretty pragmatic, and they just turned their coat in and they said, okay, well, no more Russian, you know, imperialism or whatever. I'm a Bolshevik now. You know, yeah. Let's sing the International and all that business, you know. That's the reality. So that's your winning hearts and minds to a point. It also shows that maybe you won't go around killing people, and that you won't go around just destroy everything that these folks, you know, stood for. Much like, once again, I think what Lenin tried to say in State and Revolution, where he was saying basically is that, you know, we have to keep the veneer of things that happen. Yeah, we're not going to get rid of holidays and whatnot yet, but once the state, you know, recedes, then so will these holidays, and we can go ahead and manipulate people as we need to. Let's carry on.
Yeah. Pick any one of those. It doesn't have to be all of them. Pick any one of them. Pick an issue that day. Yeah, for sure. I'll co-opt any messaging. And if they say there's no systemic racism,
Co-opt any messaging. Once again, this smells like opportunism, doesn't it? It's just like when he talked with that guy Leftism today, and I almost thought about calling up on this, but I'm sure that he would hang up on me pretty quickly. But what he said on, you know, when he was talking with that guy Leftism today, take him for what it is. But when he said that I have, you know, I'm not attached to anarcho-syndicalism or market socialism. When he said that, it said to me, oh, so you're more of a Kautskyite. That's what it smells like to me. He's not attached to any of these ideas. This leaves plenty of room for opportunism. This leaves plenty of room for, you know, and of course, like I say, he's made a lot of apologia where, oh, well, it's okay that corporations are supporting Black Lives Matter and they're giving money to these types of things. Why not just use it? Oh, it also just makes the Nazis mad. You know, once again, you know, just dabbing on Nazis shouldn't just be. See, this is one of the this is why a lot of the left is such a problem. They want to have that moral superiority. It's like, well, I just want to dab on the fascists. I want to dab on the Nazis. When you do that, and when you call all this type of thing Nazi, then people get alienated. But of course, this is one of the things with the left. They just want the moral victory to say, I'm smarter than you. I have the true facts. And that's all they care about. They don't necessarily care about winning. They just want to win against that fascist they're arguing with on Twitter or, in some debate. Think about that for a minute.
Racism, say, that's great, then we're just going to improve things for everyone. We're not trying to help black people when we reform the police. We're trying to help everyone. Did you know that police shootings in America are far more likely or far more disproportionate than police shootings in other countries? It's not just black people. Why don't we just help the police for everyone?
And of course, then they could say, oh, well, I've never seen the cops come around and shoot me. Why does it make a difference? Well, but But the thing is, though, is Vaush, you're making your own side look a lot more rational than what they are. They'll just start screaming and they'll say, why are you such a racist? This and that. We've seen once again the TikTok videos of Zoomers and millennials talking to their boomer parents, or in some cases their millennial parents, and try to argue with them and them looking like idiots. So no, that's not going to change anything. You make people look far too rational, but of course people like I said, once again, he's in his own little bubble. He says, no, this is the path that I've chosen. So continue.
Well, the police do nothing wrong. Okay, well, here's some simple data. Don't you think maybe we should at least not have police going to do fucking parole checkups? Or getting sent to fucking rescue cats out of trees? Maybe we should.
Wow, how dare they do a parole checkup? You mean if someone, was popped for doing cocaine or something like that? Well, cocaine really isn't that much of a thing, but, it's like you pop someone for selling meth. I mean, how dare, a parole officer is what you're talking about, not a fucking policeman. There are things called POs where you're supposed to check in, but of course, genius here doesn't know anything about that. I mean, that's usually what it is. As far as I know, once again, correct me where I'm wrong, basic cops are not going to go around checking, on every, go ahead.
Should have another group of people we can refer to. There's always a simple answer. What if they say black people already get handouts and say we're not giving them any more handouts? Because we're not giving them any more handouts. Does investing their
we're not going to give them any more handouts. Oh, and then that's going to alienate your black audience that you're trying to get, isn't it?
Communities not benefit them in the long term? Does that not make it more likely we won't have to give them handouts in the future? There is always an out. There is always an out. What we do want.
No, there's not always an out. I can tell you that right now. There's not always an out.
Can you help me by hanging some?
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, let's finish this last little minute or so up here.
Online is not real politics. Right now, my job is to convince other people who are already politically.
Yeah, I agree that, online is not real politics. You're right on that. Yeah. We're just LARPing and we're just talking to the choir that we have created for ourselves. Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead.
Engaged. Real politics is convincing people who are not politically engaged. That is the magic of politics. That is the secret.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that you don't have any control over that. That's the sad thing that you are going to realize quite soon, is that you don't have any control over that. All right. Until the power starts to go out, until the TV stations go out, you don't have any control over that messaging. You have no control over that. You are not gonna, stand up a bunch, in amongst all these folks and, make your speeches or whatever the case may be, or try to, bread pill your dad or whatever the case may be. No, that's not gonna happen. Go ahead, though.
What I do is easy. People come to me already caring about politics, and I share with them ideas. But my ability to convince them is contingent upon their belief that it is worthwhile for them to spend their time investigating the truthfulness of my claim. If there are people who don't give a fuck, those are the people, and those are most people, who need to be convinced.
You're not going to be the one to convince them, though. I'll just tell you that right now. They're going to be convinced by videos. They're going to be convinced by what happens at their job, if they still have one. They're going to be convinced by other things as well. They'll be more convinced by their friends. So this is much more, once again, this is the whole optics type of thing. This is where, the alt-right failed back in 2016 and 2017, where it's just like, like he was talking about at the beginning, where, they were saying, oh, the redacted will not replace us, this and that. I'm trying to be very careful when I say that term, but it's just like, the redacted will not replace us. The redacted will not replace us. And of course, the swastika flags and all that business, but that's a whole other issue. But go ahead.
That's the tough part. And as for how to convince those people, well, you have to think about optics. That's what matters most for those people.
Optics, yes. We have to get the normies involved. We have to do that. And yeah, that strategy did not work very well. Because then there were plenty of people who were trying to push for this idea of pan-Europeanism and this idea, these ideas, of paganism and all that type of thing. And all those ideas failed miserably failed. And of course, like I say, by the time that Charlottesville happened and, you had you had Chris Cantwell, crying on camera and, snitching to the feds and everything else. And, Jason Kessler, of course, tried to do, Charlottesville 2.0. And in Washington, D.C., then it just became a huge rally and everything else. All he could do was have some little press conference in a fucking parking garage and, with like 10 people around, and then, had to run away. So, yeah, it just so many L's. But yeah, let's continue.
Anyway, that's probably enough for a segment. It's just something I want to talk about.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so there's my response to that. Let's see here. No one saw that. That's okay. I wouldn't blame you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click on out of that there and take that back. We'll just go back to our regular area there. Let's see here. Okay. So as you can see, once again, he already admits, he says, I will co-opt anything. I will co-opt any idea. It goes to show that he has no loyalty to any particular idea. He has no loyalty to any sort of ideology. Just straight up just socialism. He's trying to create a big tent movement. I'm trying to use some terms that were used by the alt-right and by people like even Nick Fuentes for a time. We're trying to create a big tent movement. Remember that? You remember those types of things? I mean, I was around for that time. Let's create a big tent movement. Let's try to get libertarians involved, and let's do all this. Let's try to get our European brothers involved too. Where'd that work out? How'd that work out? It didn't. And the thing is that this Chopper Chaz, there's already cope, as we saw in that. They're already saying, well, the right-wingers shot those folks. Really? Okay. Unless, I guess, gang members are right-wingers, this and that. Maybe I'm coping. Maybe the truth will come out. I'm like I say, I guarantee a blog post is going to come out. That blog post is going to come out talking about, oh, well, this is the true story, of what happened in Chaz, this and that. Oh, this and that. Oh, we were just trying to save the person. This and so that's the complications that we're in. And that was a tight 33 minutes. That wasn't too bad. Anyway, I'm going to see y'all later, folks. Have a good one. Goodbye.